Picture this. You wake up on a firm surface, close to the earth, your body somehow feeling more aligned than it has in years. Your knees don't crack when you stand. Your hips move freely as you lower yourself into a deep squat to pick something up, and you hold that position comfortably while you think about your day. Your back doesn't ache. Your posture feels natural, effortless. Now snap back to reality, where you probably woke up in a plush mattress, struggled to get out of bed with a stiff lower back, and haven't been able to squat properly since you were a child. What if I told you that the way our ancestors lived, close to the ground, might hold answers to many of the physical complaints we accept as normal in modern life? What if the chairs, couches, and elevated beds we consider essential are actually working against our bodies in ways we've never fully understood? The truth is, human beings evolved over hundreds of thousands of years without furniture, and our bodies still carry the biological blueprint for ground living, whether we honor it or not. Before we dive deeper into this fascinating topic, I want to invite you to really examine your own body right now. How does your lower back feel? Can you comfortably sit cross-legged on the floor? When was the last time you could hold a deep squat for more than a few seconds? These aren't just random questions. They're diagnostic tools that reveal how far removed we've become from our natural movement patterns. If you're curious about reclaiming the physical freedom you were born with, stay with me through this exploration, because what you're about to discover might completely transform your relationship with your body and the spaces you inhabit. The human body is an extraordinary piece of evolutionary engineering, designed to move, bend, twist, and adapt to its environment in remarkable ways. For the vast majority of human history, our ancestors didn't have chairs, beds, or couches. They sat on the ground, squatted to rest and work, slept on earth or simple mats, and their bodies thrived in these positions. Their hips remained mobile well into old age. Their spines maintained natural curves. Their ankles, knees, and feet stayed strong and flexible, because they were constantly challenged by the varied positions ground living requires. Then something shifted. As civilizations developed furniture, we began spending progressively more time elevated off the ground. And while this seemed like progress and comfort, our bodies started paying a price we're only now beginning to fully understand. When you sit on the ground, something remarkable happens in your body that simply doesn't occur when you sit in a chair. First, you have to actively engage your core muscles to maintain your position. There's no backrest doing the work for you, so your deep stabilizing muscles, the ones responsible for protecting your spine and maintaining proper posture, stay active. This isn't strenuous work. It's gentle, constant engagement that keeps these muscles toned and responsive. In a chair, these muscles essentially go to sleep, and over time they weaken, which is one reason why so many people develop chronic lower back pain. Their core muscles have become so deconditioned from constant chair sitting that they can no longer properly support the spine during daily activities. Ground sitting naturally prevents this deconditioning by keeping your postural muscles engaged throughout the day. Beyond core engagement, sitting on the floor requires and maintains hip mobility in ways that chair sitting actively destroys. Think about the positions available to you on the ground: cross-legged, with legs extended, in a squat, kneeling, side-sitting, or any variation and transition between these positions. Each configuration challenges your hips through different ranges of motion, keeping the joint capsule supple and the surrounding muscles flexible. Chair sitting, by contrast, locks your hips into one single 90-degree angle for hours at a time. This chronic positioning causes the hip flexors to shorten and tighten, the glutes to weaken and lengthen, and the hip capsule itself to lose its natural range of motion. Over years and decades, people lose the ability to sit comfortably on the floor entirely, their hips having adapted so completely to chair-shaped life that ground positions become genuinely difficult or impossible. This isn't aging, it's adaptation to an unnatural environment. And it's largely reversible. The variety inherent in ground sitting also means you're constantly shifting positions, which is exactly what the human body craves. No single position, no matter how good it is, should be held for extended periods. The body needs movement, variation, and positional diversity. When you sit on the floor, discomfort naturally encourages you to shift from cross-legged to kneeling, from kneeling to a squat, from a squat to sitting with legs extended. This constant micro-movement keeps blood flowing, prevents pressure points from developing, and ensures that no single muscle group is overworked or underworked for too long. In a comfortable chair, you can remain frighteningly still for hours because the padding masks the discomfort that would normally signal you to move. This stillness is terrible for circulation, joint health, and overall physical well-being, yet we've been conditioned to view it as desirable comfort. Now let's talk about squatting, perhaps the most natural and beneficial position that modern humans have almost completely abandoned. If you travel to many parts of Asia, Africa, the Middle East, or rural communities around the world, you'll see people of all ages comfortably resting in a deep squat, sometimes for extended periods. They'll squat while waiting for a bus, while having a conversation, while taking a break from work, while eating, or simply while resting. This isn't because they lack chairs. It's because the deep squat is a fundamental human resting position that we in the Western world have nearly lost entirely. Watch any toddler and you'll see them drop into a perfect deep squat dozens of times throughout the day, with heels flat on the ground, torso upright, and complete comfort in the position. That's our natural blueprint. But most adults in chair-dominated cultures can't replicate this position their toddler self had mastered, because years of chair sitting have robbed them of the ankle mobility, hip flexibility, and movement patterns required. The deep squat is extraordinary for your body in numerous ways. It opens the hips through their full range of motion, stretches and strengthens the ankles, engages the entire posterior chain of muscles from your calves through your hamstrings and glutes, naturally decompresses the spine, and even aids in digestion and elimination. The modern toilet, elevated off the ground, positions your body in a way that actually makes elimination more difficult, and may contribute to issues like hemorrhoids and constipation. The squatting position, by contrast, aligns your internal anatomy in a way that facilitates natural, complete elimination. Populations that regularly use squat toilets have significantly lower rates of colon and pelvic floor disorders, which isn't coincidental. Beyond bathroom benefits, the ability to comfortably squat is a powerful indicator of overall physical health, joint integrity, and functional movement capacity. Physical therapists and movement specialists often use squat assessment as a window into someone's mobility limitations, because the squat reveals restrictions in the ankles, knees, hips, and spine, all at once. Sleeping on the floor represents another dramatic shift from modern norms, and one that can produce surprising benefits for many people, though it admittedly requires an adjustment period. The typical modern mattress, especially the pillow-top varieties marketed as supremely comfortable, often allows the spine to curve and sag in unnatural ways throughout the night. Heavier parts of your body, like your hips and shoulders, sink deeply into soft material, while lighter areas, like your lower back, receive less support, creating misalignment that your body then has to compensate for during sleep. Over 8 hours, this misalignment can contribute to morning stiffness, back pain, and the feeling that sleep wasn't truly restorative. A firm surface like a floor or very firm mat forces your body to distribute weight more evenly and maintains the spine's natural alignment throughout the night. Your muscles don't have to work to prevent sinking into an unstable surface, allowing for deeper muscular relaxation. Many people who transition to floor sleeping report that after an adjustment period of a few weeks, they experience significantly reduced back pain, wake up feeling more refreshed, notice improved posture throughout the day, and find that chronic stiffness diminishes or disappears entirely. This isn't universal. Some people genuinely need more cushioning due to specific conditions or body compositions, But for many others, the firmness that initially seems uncomfortable actually allows the body to rest in proper alignment for the first time in years. Traditional sleeping practices in Japan, Korea, and many other cultures have long embraced floor sleeping with thin futons or mats. And these populations haven't suffered for it. In fact, many maintain better spinal health into older age than populations sleeping on thick Western mattresses. The connection between ground living and overall physical resilience extends beyond just the positions themselves. There's the simple but profound act of getting down to the ground and back up again, something that happens constantly when you live closer to the earth. This transitional movement is a full body exercise that maintains strength, coordination, and functional capacity in ways that staying elevated simply cannot match. Researchers have actually identified the ability to sit down on the floor and stand back up without using your hands as a powerful predictor of longevity and overall health. They developed something called the sitting rising test, where people are scored on their ability to move from standing to sitting on the floor and back to standing, with points deducted for each time they use their hands, knees, or other body parts for support. Higher scores on this simple test correlate remarkably well with lower mortality rates and better health outcomes. Why? Because this movement requires strength, balance, flexibility, and coordination, all fundamental components of physical health that naturally decline when we live elevated lives supported by furniture. Think about what happens in your body dozens of times a day when you live at ground level. You lower yourself down with control, engaging your legs, core, and stabilizing muscles. You maintain various ground positions that challenge your flexibility and joint mobility. Then you push or pull yourself back to standing, again requiring coordinated muscular effort and balance. This constant physical problem solving keeps your nervous system sharp, your muscles engaged, and your joints moving through beneficial ranges of motion. Compare this to chair living, where you simply fall backward into a padded seat and later rock forward to stand, often using armrests for assistance. The muscular and neurological demands are completely different, and over time, the body you don't challenge becomes the body that can't perform when called upon. The benefits of ground living also extend into surprising realms like posture and breathing. When you sit on the floor with no backrest, your body must find its own structural integrity. This naturally encourages you to stack your spine in proper alignment, with your head balanced over your ribcage and your ribcage balanced over your pelvis. Slouching on the floor becomes uncomfortable very quickly because there's nothing to lean against, so you self-correct. This constant gentle feedback helps retrain your postural awareness in ways that carry over into standing and moving throughout your day. Your body relearns what proper alignment feels like, and you become more conscious of when you've slipped into poor positions. Chair sitting with back support removes this feedback entirely, allowing you to slouch for hours without immediate discomfort. But the long-term consequences show up as chronic pain, dysfunction, and progressive postural deterioration. Breathing also changes when you sit upright on the floor versus collapsed in a chair. Proper spinal alignment opens your chest cavity and allows your diaphragm to move freely through its full range of motion. You can take deeper, more complete breaths, which oxygenates your blood more effectively, calms your nervous system, and even aids in digestion and mental clarity. Slouched in a chair with your torso compressed, your breathing becomes shallow and restricted, which over time can contribute to feelings of anxiety, reduced energy, and decreased cognitive function. The postural benefits of ground living directly translate into respiratory benefits, creating a positive feedback loop, where better position enables better breathing, which provides more oxygen and energy, which makes maintaining good position easier. Another dimension worth exploring is the relationship between ground living and body awareness, sometimes called proprioception. This is your internal sense of where your body is in space and how it's moving. When you regularly challenge yourself with varied ground positions, transitions, and the balance required to move from floor to standing, You're constantly feeding rich sensory information to your brain about your body's position, movement, and capabilities. This keeps your proprioceptive system sharp and responsive, which has practical benefits like better balance, reduced fall risk, more graceful movement, and greater physical confidence. Elderly populations who maintain the ability to get down to and up from the floor throughout their lives show significantly better balance, lower fall rates, and greater functional independence than those who lost this capacity decades earlier. The ground provides constant, varied feedback that elevated living simply cannot replicate. There's also something to be said for the psychological and emotional impact of reconnecting with ground-level living. In many traditional cultures, sitting on the earth or floor is associated with humility, presence, and connection to the natural world. While we might not consciously think in these terms in modern Western life, there is something grounding, both literally and metaphorically, about lowering yourself to the earth. It can create a sense of stability, calm, and present moment awareness that elevated living doesn't provide. Some people find that floor sitting during meals encourages more mindful eating, that floor-based work or reading feels more focused and intentional, or that sleeping closer to the ground produces a subtle sense of security and restfulness. These subjective experiences are difficult to quantify, but they're reported consistently enough to warrant consideration. Implementing ground living practices into a modern life doesn't require abandoning all furniture or making dramatic lifestyle changes overnight. The key is gradual integration and listening to your body's feedback. You might start by simply spending 10 or 15 minutes each day sitting on the floor while you read, watch something, or have a conversation. Experiment with different positions: cross-legged, legs extended, side-sitting, kneeling, and notice which feel most accessible to you right now and which reveal limitations. These limitations aren't failures, they're information about where your body needs attention and gentle challenge. Over time, as you consistently practice floor sitting, you'll likely notice positions that were initially uncomfortable becoming easier, and you'll naturally find yourself staying on the floor for longer periods because it genuinely feels good rather than being a chore. For squatting, start where you are without judgment. If you can't currently achieve a full deep squat with heels down, that's completely normal for someone who hasn't practiced this position in years or decades. You can begin by holding onto something for support, like a door frame or sturdy piece of furniture, and lowering yourself into whatever range of squat you can manage. Hold for just a few seconds, then stand. Repeat this a few times daily, and over weeks and months, you'll notice your range increasing and your comfort improving. You can also practice sitting in a very low chair or on a low stool as an intermediate position between standing and a full squat. The goal isn't to force yourself into positions your body isn't ready for, which would risk injury, but rather to gently and consistently expand your body's current capabilities through regular, brief practice. Floor sleeping is perhaps the most dramatic change, and not one everyone needs to make. If you're curious about trying it, consider starting with a camping mat or yoga mat on the floor, rather than the bare hard surface, and give your body several weeks to adjust before making any judgments. Some people transition gradually, by progressively removing layers from their mattress or by alternating nights between floor and bed. Others find that floor sleeping genuinely isn't right for their body type or existing conditions, and that's perfectly fine. The principle is firmness and proper spinal alignment, which can also be achieved with a very firm mattress if pure floor sleeping doesn't work for you. The important thing is moving away from excessively soft surfaces that allow misalignment, not necessarily moving all the way to sleeping on bare floor. Throughout any transition toward more ground-based living, patience and gentleness with yourself are essential. Your body has adapted to furniture-based life, and that adaptation is stored in shortened muscles, restricted joint capsules, and established movement patterns. Undoing years or decades of adaptation doesn't happen in a week or even a month. It's a gradual process of consistent, gentle challenge that allows your tissues to slowly regain flexibility, your joints to restore their natural ranges, and your nervous system to relearn movement patterns it may have forgotten. Pushing too hard or too fast will likely result in pain, frustration, or injury that derails your progress entirely. The tortoise approach wins this race. Steady, consistent, patient practice over time produces lasting change that the hare's aggressive approach never achieves. It's also worth acknowledging that ground living isn't an all-or-nothing proposition, and it doesn't need to be. You don't have to throw out all your furniture and commit to sitting only on the floor for the rest of your life. Even incorporating 20 or 30 minutes of floor sitting daily, practicing squatting for a few minutes several times a week, or occasionally sleeping on a firmer surface can begin to counteract some of the negative adaptations that pure furniture living creates. The goal is adding variability and natural positions back into your movement diet, not adhering rigidly to any particular dogma. Your body craves variety, so even small additions of ground-based positions into an otherwise conventional lifestyle provide valuable stimulus. The research supporting these practices continues to grow as movement scientists, physical therapists, and researchers interested in ancestral health patterns investigate how modern sedentary, furniture-based living affects human bodies. Studies on populations that maintain traditional ground-based living practices consistently show better hip mobility, better squat depth, lower rates of lower back pain, and better maintenance of functional movement capacity into old age compared to populations living furniture-based lives. The ability to sit on the floor and rise without assistance has been validated as a significant predictor of mortality and functional health. The biomechanical advantages of firm sleeping surfaces for spinal alignment are increasingly well documented. None of this is fringe science or speculation. It's legitimate research illuminating how the environments we create shape our physical capabilities over time. Perhaps most importantly, exploring ground living offers you agency over your own physical experience in a world where we're often told that pain, stiffness, and declining mobility are inevitable parts of aging. They're not inevitable. They're consequences of how we move and position our bodies throughout our lives. And that means they're largely within our control to influence. If you've accepted that your stiff hips, achy back, or inability to squat are just how your body is now, I'm inviting you to question that acceptance. Your body is remarkably adaptable, and it responds to the demands you place on it. Place different demands, patient and consistent ones, and you'll get different results. The ground is waiting for you. The same ground your body was designed over hundreds of thousands of years to interact with. And reconnecting with it might unlock physical freedom you thought you'd lost forever. As we close this exploration, I want to encourage you to take one small action today. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now after you finish reading. Sit on your floor for just 5 minutes. Notice what it feels like. Notice what's easy and what's challenging. Notice how your body responds. That's your baseline, your starting point. And there's no judgment attached to whatever you discover. From that honest assessment, you can begin making small, incremental changes that accumulate over time into significant improvements in how your body feels and functions. The journey back to the ground is one of the most natural and beneficial movements you can make, and your body will thank you for every step along the way.